We're just having a few yucks. Dr. Oz is in the building, sitting right across from me today. Hello.
How are you? I love Toronto.
Oh, good. Well, we just absolutely love having you here. And the reason that you're in Toronto today is the Power Within for Women. And you're going to be the keynote speaker at 4 o'clock, 4:30 this afternoon.
4:30 this afternoon, just before the storm.
So do you want to give us the entire speech now so nobody has to go?
Yeah, I'll start right now. My first slide. Next,
anyway,
any conclusion?
It is really good to have you here. And I do notice as I was looking at Oprah Winfrey's website today that you are on the show. And as we looked over the entire thing today, you realized that this was a show that you recorded when, do you think?
Well, we recorded the show earlier in the season. I just never got it on the air yet. And sometimes that's because other topics come up that are more compelling. We actually did a show, for example, soon after this one that was about the Super Bowl, because there was a gentleman, Kevin Everett, who had been paralyzed in the first game of the season, and he was able to walk again. So that's obviously a show you want to air before the Super Bowl because everyone's paying attention to football stories. So sometimes you juggle your schedule a little bit. This is a great show, though. I really was excited because I did it with Bob Green, who's Oprah's trainer, and we talked a lot about the kinds of foods that you can eat and still lose weight.
Give us one.
Cabbage. It takes as much
Who
calories.
Who wants to eat cabbage?
Well, you wouldn't.
Doesn't that kind of make you have gas?
No.
I don't know. Doesn't it? I'm not sure.
Some people get gas.
It affects people differently. I don't know.
Two kinds of folks have gas. People who eat the wrong foods get gas because their body doesn't like it, and people who eat the right kinds of foods, especially fiber, get gas too. But when you have fiber in your diet, what happens is you slam shut this valve between the small intestine and the big intestine. And that valve, when it closes, holds the food up, which means that you feel satiated. You feel full all day long. That's why, listen, if you're listening right now and you know that eating breakfast is good for your diet, put your hand up. Right? Everyone's driving around the city now, put their hands up in the air. But most people realize that it's not about eating junk food for breakfast. You've got to have a high fiber or high protein breakfast. It's because of that same reality. And I think the big epiphany for a lot of folks is that if you don't understand the biology of blubber, you really can't lose weight. Because when you try to violate your biology, it's like trying to hold your breath underwater. It doesn't work. Eventually, you come gasping to the surface, this time for carbohydrates. So what you want to do really is to nudge that biology. And that's why, if you think about it, people who are heavy think thin people are lucky. But thin people think fat people are lazy. Right? That's always the paradox. And the reality is, it's mostly about knowledge. If you look at what people who are thin do, they generally will eat foods that are on, or they act in ways that will take them thinner. And that's a lot of cultural and some of it's things that they've learned.
And that is the topic on the show today, how to eat more and still lose weight. And is this something you discussed today, too, at the Power Within for Women?
Yeah, and the Power Within, what we try to do is to walk you through all the aspects of wellness that we think are important for you. And my book writing partner, Mike Royds, and I have crafted a bunch of books called the You Books. Right? And it's all about you. That's why it's not called us. And our picture's not even on the book because we really want to point our fingers, and we do it literally on the book cover, at you. Because the epiphany, for me, is that as a physician, I try oftentimes to get you to do things better. And many patients come to my office and say, what are the drugs I can have? What's the surgery option that I can take? Deep down inside, what you don't realize is that it's always been about what you can do for yourself. And for a lot of folks, when they have that deeper insight, they begin to take charge. Not just by the way of their weight, but also of their financial issues, of their appearance. Across the board, they feel more empowered and begin to act differently. And that's what the program today is all about, getting you to realize what your health really is about. And that bit of knowledge will catapult you. But here's the bigger story. It's all about building an army. When folks read the books or come to the Power Within or watch the Oprah Show, what we want to do is get you to pass it on. Take the information that we're sharing with you and you take it to the community that you're in, the family that you're living with. Share it with the people you love in your life. That's how we change health.
And ultimately, each individual, us, we are responsible for our own bodies. And so back in grade 8 home ec, you are what you eat.
You are what you eat. And by the way,
Simple
no one else but you can do it. That's the part that a lot of folks don't get. You can't delegate that, right? And that's why we spend time, for example, talking about poop, right? And
we should talk more about poop, actually.
Well, I'm surprised you don't have about 10 questions on it. It always comes up. But, folks say, well, how come you're going to go into that topic? Well, we never talk about what comes out of our body, but what better way to audit a machine than to look at what's coming out of it?
Yes.
Right? If your car is spewing smoke, you deal with it. Well, if the poop coming out of you should come out shaped like an S, and it should hit the water like a Greg Louganis diver.
Whoa, I love it!
Right? Where's the sound effects? But if you're like a bombardier, dropping them in there, then things aren't functioning correctly. You don't want to hear the poop hit the water. If you do, you don't have enough fiber in your diet, or there are other things happening that you got to address.
That is a wonderful indicator.
Good.
I love that. I love it. So we have to ask you, though, you have been Oprah's doctor like forever and ever and ever. And when you went to medical school, come on, did you think you were going to go on to be a rock star?
No.
Because you are a rock star. You know that.
You're very kind. And no, I did not anticipate this. And frankly, I don't think I could have done this if I had anticipated it. Medicine's a calling. And it was with great pride that I entered into the field. I really had this belief that I would learn all about the human body. And one thing that did affect me very profoundly is the realization somewhere in the early years as an intern, as resident, that the patients didn't read the same books that we read in medical school. And when I began to realize that the courses that I took in medical school weren't going to teach me everything, I began to realize deep down inside me that the word doctor really did mean teacher, because that's what the meaning is. And therefore, I had to learn from my students. And so that give and take is what allowed me to become, I think, the person I am today. I'm a scientist, and doctors have to be scientists, but what you really want to be is a healer.
Now, what is the best thing that your notoriety has brought you? This is our final question. We asked some of our listeners to ask questions, and this is one of the ones that came up.
Well, I get better dinner reservations. No, I think the real change for me has been that I can talk about stuff that has historically been difficult for us to address. Yeah, poop is some of it, but we can also get into deeper topics like, well, how do you deal with death? What are the things that are going to challenge our society as we go forward? What are the things you really can do that make sense? There's so much hype out there about things you should do for your health, with new diet programs, the new anti-aging foods. You can cut through all that stuff when people trust you. That's what Oprah really offers, authenticity. It's about living your best life, but she's going to tell you exactly how she lives her best life. And I try to do the same. Just share the insights that work for me and my patients without a lot of spin to them. And folks take that and they resonate to it.
And you get to make a difference in people's lives, and that feels good.
Which is the greatest blessing of all.
Indeed. Dr. Oz, you are such a blessing to come by and squeeze us into your busy schedule. We wish you all the best at Power Within today, and thanks so much for stopping by and seeing us all here at CHFI.
Greatly honored. Take care.